Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name's Boogie Bentley. The boys are here. Coach A's in the house. Scoops has had a busy weekend, but he is here. Founding in the house. Scoops, how we doing, brother? How was SEC tournament? Little March Madness selection show going on tonight?
Oh, I mean, most wonderful time of the year. Just got our selection, obviously going to Philadelphia, but amazing time in Bridgestone Arena, kind of chaotic from Wednesday on, just absolute chaos. So enjoyed it. It's like a little special holiday for the sports freaks like us, man. All the fan bases coming on, being in the same area, but pretty cool. Fired up for March Madness, and it's crazy. We're talking about spring ball just around the corner. So.
Me and Coach were talking about it last Sunday, Fal. We did the film breakdown on George and Faison. Fun show, man. Good stuff. Coach always takes us and sits us down beneath the learning tree, and we always learn something around. I don't know what got into Coach last week, but he spent about 45 minutes lecturing people on the veer and shoot and how there's not a dead side, even though some people on the internet think there is. Coach was educating us. But man, Fal, it seems like it just like that. Is it because of the portal? I feel like we blinked our eyes and spring camp is here. Tomorrow we kick things off.
Yeah, well, and the fact that we kind of brought the portal down to just one portal versus two separate portals, that kind of makes it more exciting. It's more do or die. I got to get it done. But it also kind of makes this more exciting because now you feel more solidified. We're not worried. Okay, we can kind of start to lock some positions in. Maybe not. I mean, we're going to talk about all kinds of position battles tonight, but it kind of locks that in to where we know what we're looking at. We know what the team kind of combination is. So that kind of makes me more excited. I can start talking about, okay, I'm excited to see this player or that player. And I love seeing Coach. Great video last week, guys. But I love seeing Coach get in there, getting the X's and O's, really break that down. I'm sure we're going to cover QB battles here, but it really made me start to question. I'm like, I feel pretty solid about who I think it's going to be. But the more I look into it and the more I think about it, I'm like, man, maybe for once, there really is a straight up QB battle here.
Let's call a spade a spade. Everybody thinks it's George until it's not George. But don't bury the lead. We'll come back to that. Coach, should we kick Scoops off the show? He said March, the greatest time of the year. Was he March Madness is the best time of the year?
For basketball, yeah. I mean,
we got to clear that up.
March. No, yeah. I mean, obviously you get fired up. I request off work, Thursdays and Fridays for the best sessions. You get the dancing. An underdog comes and knocks off a top seed. You get fired up. You don't, things that you don't expect to happen. So when you have a field of 64, when it comes to basketball season, as we're approaching football season, I get fired up for the madness.
Coach, do you get more excited for March Madness? Let's say the Sweet 16. The Sweet 16 and on. Or just one session of routes on air during the spring when that grass is cut and you can smell it and you can hear the pads popping.
I mean, I'm a football guy, so I think I'll always take football. There was one exception one year where I think I've even talked about on this channel. I actually won like a gambling site Sweet 16 tournament challenge and won $16,000 for picking the bracket perfect. That was pretty dang exciting, but beyond that, give me the routes on air, I guess. I guess I'm a football guy.
Coach likes money and then routes on air. Well, there's something else that he likes too, but that's for another stream. Hey, let me catch up with you guys in the chat. Do us a favor, smash the thumbs up, share out the link, let people know we're live. We're talking all things Tennessee football. But hitting the thumbs up, it's easy, man. It takes you 2 seconds. I would appreciate it. Make sure don't be a Nelson. You see, Nelson, not only did he get kicked off of Twitter, I asked him what he did. He wouldn't tell me. He wouldn't tell me. But his profile is deleted from Twitter, and his Power T is deleted beside his name in the chat. So I don't know what's wrong with Nelson. If you don't have a Power T beside your name in the chat, they say that you are a Georgia fan. You can hit that join button and fix that down below. But let me catch up with some of you guys. Randy Wilson dropped a $10 super chat and says, Door Fee, let's GBO. Shout out, Randy. We appreciate you, my man. Brian Turner for 10 says, Dorfy, looking forward to spring camp. Who's the starting quarterback going to be? And our third wide receiver, time will tell. GBO, yeah, we're going to talk about both of those position battles here on the show tonight. Gregory C for 10 says, Coach J and Boogie, let's get it. Guess what, though? He came back with another 10 and said, hashtag scoops and foul mean. Gregory C. taking care of business there. We appreciate you, my man. Todd Landers is here. What's up, Todd? Good to see you in the chat. Says door fee, GBO. Seth showing off. He's bragging. Been a member for 43 months. We appreciate that. Seth, Caveman Boy, has been a member for 18 months. Dave Morrison for 33 says, I'm more than ready for spring practice. The Vols are going to be ignored, underestimated, and downright disrespected. I'm ready for them to shut some mouths. We're going to open with that here in just a second. Sora has been a member for 35 months. We absolutely back at it again, boys. Randy Wilson gifted a Talkin VAWLS membership, as we do every stream. 35 new members, whether they're joining the channel or you guys gift them. 35 of them. We'll give away some free Talkin VAWLS merch, and Chief is here. He's dropping a 20 spot. Calm down. I know sometimes Scoops, if you're here on Tuesday nights, when you hear the name Chief in a super chat, Scoops like gets a little anxious, but not on a Sunday. It's all good. He drops an Orange Boy. We'll play the clip.
Rocky Top!
Shout out, Chief. We appreciate you, my friend. He says door fee GBO, top donation of the early night show. Shout out to Chief. Let's talk about, that one chat talking about the haters and the doubt. And we kind of talk about expectations this time of year. But I saw this clip floating around on the internet from Andy and Ari. I saw it on Twitter, made a full video on this, but I just think it's interesting. The quote says, I think we're at the point where they're done being functional and they want to be really good. Scoops, how do you even set, right? We're going into year 6, right? And if you look at it and it's like, oh, it's year 6, there's no more excuses, right? No ifs, ands, or buts. You can't make excuses in year 6, but really you can, right? You could talk about Nico leaving last year and that kind of moved things and shifted things. You just fired Tim Banks. Is it a second transitional year? How do you, Scoops, how do you set what your expectations are for 2026?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the changing landscape and how it is, comparing a year 6 to what it is now to what it was in the past. And I think with how last year ended, it was kind of steamy there for a little bit when the offseason first started. You had to make changes. You fired Tim Banks. You fired Kurt Schmidt. You brought in Derek Owens. You brought in Jim Knowles. You revamped the staff. And I mean, as basketball and as the offseason's kind of gone on, things, kind of steam has kind of settled down. But now we're talking about spring practice kicking off tomorrow, where it's all gas, no breaks, and still in a new system, new defense. The quarterback decision and the quarterback battle is kind of quieted down, even though it's going to be a huge talking point that ramps up here soon. And I mean, do or die, you just have that expectation of now a 9-game SEC schedule and instilling this new identity. So I mean, you talk about the pressure and the need to go and get going. Is there pressure? Is it going to be putting Josh Heupel in the hot seat? I mean, I think they feel that pressure. We saw Heupel kind of tell CeeLo, we're talking about the playoffs, saying that he knows the pressure on him and what he has to do to get going forward, and that he wants to, he knows what the fan base expectations are and trying to chase a championship. So I think we're going to see this staff, and as the practice kicks off tomorrow, that they're going to be all gas and attacking this thing head on.
Nobody has higher expectations than Josh Heupel, right? Nobody has higher expectations than that locker room. But Fal, what's fair as a fan? Like, if you're just having a beer with the boys talking about what you expect from Josh Heupel, what do you expect in 2026? Is 8 wins, like another 8-4 regular season? Are you okay with that? Or you go, all right, now an 8-4 2026 means something better change in 2027, or I'm ready to look for a new coach. And I know none of us on this panel are ready to fire Josh Heupel, but I'm just saying, what pushes you to that point where you start to maybe doubt him?
I don't have doubts yet, but I think the way some of the things have played out over the last season kind of starts having some of the fan base start to have those thoughts creep in. Like, I was just, as we were doing the intro here, I was just kind of sketching out the schedule, and I got about 7, 8 wins kind of chalked in there. And then depending on how you want to look at it, then I got maybe, you could put it up like 4 or 5 tosses, really. Like, I think those, and when I say toss, I always say win-loss or toss. I mean, kind of a toss-up. I think there's several games in there that are going to kind of either cool the seat or heat the seat, right? Like, you start looking at, I mean, we got 3 games up front, and then we got straight SEC schedule. I mean, this is a tough stretch for anybody, but you start looking at games like an at Arkansas. Like, I got that as a dub, but you have to have it, right? You're at Arkansas. It's not going to be easy. you look at how the Alabama game went last year. A lot of us felt like that should have been much more competitive than it was. At South Carolina, like I know they've lost some starting linemen there, but that's a tough one. I'm not worried about Kentucky. But then you start looking at like you end the season with Texas A&M, LSU, Vandy. You got a new coach at LSU. You got a new system at LSU. But then you talk about they've got one of the most expensive rosters in the country. So to me, I think you got to, just as far as we're talking about coach here and what he has to get done, I think you got to come away with 8, right? I think Josh Heupel's the guy. Like Josh Heupel's my guy. I don't want any question there. I don't think he should go anywhere. I think he should get more credit than he probably does for what he's done so far. But you got to come away with probably 8 there. My biggest question mark is, or maybe a litmus test of sorts, is that early Texas game. What can you do? It's at home, but you're looking at a potential playoff favorite there. So you got to get, and you can feel it, you can see it. Heupel knows it's not a hot seat, but it's getting warm. He knows that you look at all these staff changes, like Scoops was talking about. He's putting all the cards on the table. He's trying to do everything he can do to right this ship and make sure we don't hit any more bumps along the way. And we'll get into some of this stuff later, so I won't go too long-winded here. But I do want to talk about, I think this defense, and a lot of people's going to skip over Tennessee. A lot of people's got, well, it's Jim Knowles' first year, and it takes a while, yada, yada. But I think this defense has a really good chance to be special.
But, Coach, does that give you, for lack of a better word, your excuse? Does that give you the excuse in your pocket if this team goes 8-4? This is what I'm saying, and we've talked about this before on here. Like last year being a rebuild / transitional year. Why? Well, because your starting quarterback left, right? So that kind of gave you that wild card in the back pocket. Oh, no, here's my excuse. And now this year, well, I think you're committed to winning by going and hiring Jim Knowles. But if it takes that defense time to click, that's excuse number 2. I feel like I just think the Tennessee program right now, it's in a good spot, but it's in a weird spot because of the way the last 12 to 14 months have played out.
It's in a little bit of a weird spot. Thing number one, that, I listen to this. I get what they're saying. I think it's a fair statement to say that Vol fans want more. I think we always want more as Vol fans, right? We're fanatical. We have that title as the craziest fan base. Things don't go our way, people flip out, certain fans start texting members of the media and coaching staff and players and whatnot, and totally flipping out and melting down. But at the end of the day, I think how the season goes down is going to matter. I think the devil is in the details always in football. Like, how does this season look? Not all 8-4s, not even all 9-3s, not even all 10-2s, as we have seen, are built equally. So I think that matters. But I think everyone wants to see some things starting to clean up. And overall, what Coach wants is, I want to be back in the hunt, right? Like we were in the hunt for a second there, and then we got knocked out of it. I want to be back in that hunt, but I want to see a couple things fixed, right? Like last year, we really wanted to see, us overcome Florida or Georgia. Like, we had this list of things. And even though we got one of those things done, right, it didn't feel right because of the way everything went down. But I want to see some things this year. I mean, I want to see us stick our flag back in the 50-yard line of home field and not let other teams walk into Neyland Stadium. I think we need to get back to owning Neyland. Josh Heupel has been good inside Neyland Stadium. We need to get back to that. I think the defense needs to improve somewhere in the likes of, even though Knowles' defense is difficult to pick up, I see no reason why under Knowles this defense can't jump 60 to 70 slots. And I really mean that. Even with needing to grow even more, I think they can. And then the final thing, the thing I want to see the most, the thing that I think is most important to me, is a thing that, I'm going to be honest with everybody in the chat, it's a thing that I'm scared I might not get, because it's like it's something that Heupel doesn't care about all that much, but it's that what we've wanted. It's the clock management. It's that CEO clock management, able to have someone running the offense while keeping track of the greater beats of the game, because we've lost games every single season because of that. And if not only this team wants to transform into the next level, if Josh Heupel wants to get all these naysayers wrong, he needs to take that part of his own coaching game to the next level. And I don't know where I'm going to be after this season. I think the season would have to go really, really bad for me to want to get rid of him. But as Fal said, I don't know that the seat's hot yet, but the massage chair's on, and if you leave it running too long, that seat warmer might get a little too hot by the end of the year, and you might find yourself in a chair that's way too warm in the next season.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're being realistic, right, the goal is to chase championships, right? Winning is hard, man. Let's just start there. Winning is not easy. We were just in the college football playoff, and then the quarterback that got you there, and I get it, defense and Dylan Sampson. I understand that. But guess what? We still got there with Nico. That was not that long ago. And, man, it's just, what have you done for me lately? I want to play this clip. I think this clip's going to open up some more conversation about it. So, again, Andy and Ari, do or die mode for Josh Heupel. Let's take a listen.
They still love the fact that he got into the playoff, and I think they're still optimistic. But they're side-eyeing him quite a bit more than they used to.
I think you are very appreciative of a coach that turned you from a dysfunctional program into a functional one. And when you're dysfunctional, you're just dying to be functional. He accomplished that already. But a fan base that's as robust and passionate as Tennessee can only be satisfied with functional for so long.
Right.
And I think we're at the point where they're done being functional and they want to be really good.
What do you think about that, Scoops? The fact that he took us from dysfunctional to functional. And I beat this point into the ground for so long. I mean, you got to go back to Fulmer. You want to get to 10-win seasons, you got to go to Fulmer. That was a long time ago. Scoops, how old were you in 2008 when Philip Fulmer was fired? How old were you?
I was 7 going on 8.
So little tiny toddler Scoops didn't even get to enjoy 10-win seasons. You didn't know what the hell a 10-win season felt like until Josh Heupel got here. And I get it, because, and to go back to the same conversation we've had, we're trying to go from a good football team to an elite program. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take that next step. Where are you at on it, Scoops? Are you already ready to say, I understand that Josh Heupel took us from dysfunctional to functional, but now either you take the next step or we're going to go find somebody that can?
I mean, where this program was when he got here, the probation, everything from a 5-7 year one, turning it around with Hooker, having that first 10-win season, getting to the playoffs with Nico in the first year of the 12-win team. And I kind of agree with that. As a fan base, we're seeing what's happened. We've had some frustrations, even though we've had success on the field. You beat Florida in the Swamp. You beat Alabama twice in Neyland Stadium. You've won big games. You've got back to that, where you are functional, where you are nationally respected sometimes, where it's not just going to be like, hey, that's Tennessee, that's an easy win. Like, Tennessee's going to go out there and compete. And like Coach said, it didn't go our way sometimes at home this year with, Georgia and Oklahoma. But I think Tennessee still has a talent, and where we can have that expectation, even though we might be upset about how the search for a quarterback went in the offseason and the way it went down with Joey Aguilar. But I don't think that changes the expectation of where this program can be, where it is talent-wise, how you've went and replenished and brought guys that know the system under Jim Knowles on the defensive side of the ball, and how you've been able to kind of go and try to close that gap and the hires you've made and the money you've invested. I think it's very well that, Tennessee fans can have that high expectation where you want to win, you want to get into that 12-team playoff, whether it's going to expand or not and get easier. It's not going to get any easier in the SEC with it being a 9-game conference schedule now. You have to go out there and play the very best. We've already broke down the schedule and the tough opponents you're going to have at home and on the road. So, I think fans are valid to feel that way, but I also think in this day and age that, 9-3 might be the new 10-2. I told, some guys that over the weekend, there's, Tennessee, the expectations you have in this conference of college football. Yes, we adapted to that new, schedule, but until it expands, it's going to be super hard playing the best competition. So I think, we're valid to have that high expectation, but you also, in this day and age, you're playing the best of the best. You're going out there and having the resources and trying to compete. And I think if you can get 9-3, that can get you into the playoffs in this day and age.
I don't even think that 9-3 might be the new 10-2. I think it is.
Well, yeah.
I think adding that extra conference game definitely makes it a not. And I think people that are delusional and over the top negative are not going to accept that, right? They are not going to be open to that statement that you just made, Scoops. Let me catch back up with the chat real quick, and then we're going to play the rest of this clip. Shout out Nelson. He fixed it. He hit the join button finally and got a power T beside his name. And he also commented and said that Boogie is a bully. I can neither confirm nor deny that. Packers Total Access for 5 says door feed for the Boogie and the boys, making this offseason flyby. Shout out Packers Total Access, local guy that runs a channel similar to this for the Green Bay Packers. So if you like the Packers, go check out Packers Total Access. Todd gifted a Talkin VAWLS membership. We appreciate that. Randy upgraded his membership to Talkin VAWLS Elite. That's $10 a month. Shout out Randy. Talkin VAWLS Elite always gets the link first on our fan call-in shows. Maybe we'll do a fan call-in show at some point during spring camp. Dave Morrison for 2 says, everyone just keep your knickers dry until 2028. We can't panic until 2028. I can't wait that long. Good old Nate Pruitt is here. It's good to see Nate in the chat. He gifted 5 Talkin VAWLS memberships. That means we need, what do we need? 26 more. You can gift them. If you're not a member, hit the join button. It's $1 a month. You guys help kind of sponsor the channel, and we appreciate that support. Good old Nate also dropped a $10 super chat and said, cover charge Boogie. Been a while. Howdy, Coach Jay. Foul Scoops. God bless. And go Vols. Shout out good old Nate. Appreciate you, brother. It's good to see you in the chat, my man. Hope you're doing well. Todd's been a member for 18 months, is ready for some football practice tomorrow. The team was actually given the week off. Let me ask you a question. Let's don't take this too far off the beaten path here. You're a college kid. You're getting paid to play college football. You got this new strength coach comes in. He is beating your brains in. You're working hard. And then spring break just so happens to fall the week before spring camp. You going to make dumb decisions, or you going to stay dialed in and focused on the task at hand? You, Foul, just you. I'm just curious.
I think in this particular situation, I get where you're going. I get where you're leaning into here, but you have to stay dialed in. You have to stay locked in. I mean, there's too much of a task at hand kind of thing going on. Like this is the kind of times and this is the kind of decisions you're going to make, whether you're going to be successful, you're going to make a run this year, or you're just going to be like, okay, I'm a D1 athlete. I'm at Tennessee. I kind of got it made, and I'm going to cruise. We can't afford that. Right. Like, you have to be dialed in, locked in. Yeah. Go out, relax, clear your mind a little bit, have some fun with the boys. But at the same time, you have to take care of your body. You have to stay mentally prepared and know what's coming this week. And I'm sure there's a couple that might have slipped through the cracks, but come Monday morning tomorrow, you're going to be able to pick those guys out real quick.
Coach Jay didn't believe a single word that just came out of your mouth.
No, I was just thinking too, Boogie. You got to remember, sometimes a lot of our mean old cuss conditioning coaches lick our chops at that week off, because I'm going to grab you and I'm going to go, Foul, I want you have a good week off, man. I want you to relax, enjoy yourself, have some fun. Don't even think about football while you're gone, man. And then when you get back, oh man, it's going to be bad.
They're dreading Monday, and Coach Jay cannot wait.
That's the only part that keeps me squared away at all, if at all. But the part that keeps me squared away is I'm not giving you that opportunity. Like, I'm just not giving you the satisfaction, because I know what's coming, and I don't want to be that guy.
No, and you learn a lot about your squad that way too.
I agree.
In that litmus test when they come back. Go ahead, Scoops.
And they have not been really good in a long.
I was going to say one of my favorite things during the leading up to spring practice is just seeing like the little notes about the jumps people have made. I know you have that week off. It's easy to make dumb decisions, or not lock in nutritionally. Maybe you have some team bonding down there in Florida, but come tomorrow, we're going to see the guys that took it serious and maybe slacked off a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Long time. We're talking kind of mid Philip Fulmer era was the last time they were really good. I was a beat writer covering.
By the way, this clip, I think it's almost comical, because Andy kicks it off basically saying 8-4 is not good enough, right? They have to be better. They have to take another step, right? What you've done in the past doesn't matter. And then listen, like now in the second half of the clip, he is selling us on why we should be putting up statues of Josh Heupel right now. Not talking about whether or not he's on the hot seat. Just listen to the different tone on the back half of the video.
The mid-Philip Fulmer era was the last time they were really good. I was a beat writer covering the 2001 team. That 2001 Tennessee team, which I believe ended up winning 10 games, was one of the best collections of talent I've ever seen. They were awesome. And they should not have lost to LSU in the SEC championship game. They shouldn't have lost to Georgia in the Hobnail boot game. Like that team should have ended up playing Miami for the national title that year. I don't know if they would have beaten them, but they were probably the only team in the country that could compete with that team. Tennessee hadn't had a team like that since then.
Even the playoff team 2 years ago wasn't that.
No, 25 years. 25 years, Ari.
A couple of things that are funny about that to me. They're talking about a team in 2001 that a lot of people said should have won the SEC championship. Guess what? They didn't. They should have won a national championship. They didn't. So you're holding that team to some type of standard up here. The team in 2024 went 10-2 and went to the college football playoff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think I think they're acting like, oh well, you know, it doesn't matter that he rebuilt the program. Meanwhile, Scoops wasn't born when they're talking about these teams being relevant. That's and I don't know, Scoops. What do you think about this? Maybe Josh Heupel's the guy, and we've talked about this a lot on the channel. I don't know if you've talked about it with us. Maybe Josh Heupel's not the guy that takes us to win a national championship, but maybe he's the guy that rebuilt it, similar to Mark Richt right before Kirby Smart.
Yeah, we've talked about, you know, like a guy that can get you to where you want to be, but then you have to have another guy that can take you to that max level of getting the, you know, the Valhalla, of getting to the national championship where you can, you know, win a few playoff games and at least compete for a national championship in this day and age. And I mean, I think Josh Heupel can be, you know, the Kirby Smart instead of, you know, being the guy that's just leading up to the guy that's going to come out here and be successful. I think the things you've been able to do, the resources you have right now, the class you have coming in, even though there's a lot of question marks at your skill positions, I think that right now, this year, and, you know, maybe this and next year, like, he has the chance to prove that he's not just a guy that's going to be a stepping stool coach that set the standard but couldn't get it done. This, like, if he can go out and make the right investments, I think he can be that guy. But it's easy to have that comparison of seeing, you know, you get those big wins, but then you have those frustrating, you know, decisions or frustrating losses where it's things that's, you know, set out or sting more than others. But I think that, you know, they have a chance to put it all together.
What do you guys think that they have to do? Like we have this conversation of we got to go from good to great. Is it as simple as the breaks going your way? Like, people don't want to hear it. Maybe they've calmed down a little bit, but how many times have we said, hey, you know, you take away the scoop and score against Oklahoma, different game. Make the kick against Georgia, different game. I can pick 5 plays from the course of the season and turn that season into an 11-1 regular season. That, like, you're and I get it. It's a game of inches, and we can make all the excuses in the world, but that's just the reality of the situation. This could have been an 11-win team. It also could have been a 6-win team. Pal, that's how close the margin of victory and defeat is right now.
Well, that's kind of the point I was going to make right before we got to that clip, but okay, should on 2 things here. One, should Heupel have gotten more credit for that 10-win season when maybe you thought it wasn't going to happen, or you're comparing it to other rosters? But then you look at last year, it's like the Georgia thing happens. You're a kick away. Look, it happens. I was as crushed as everybody, but you're a kick away. Can you really hold that against Heupel? So that's a playoff team. Okay, then Bama happens. Playoff team. You get Oklahoma. Playoff team. But the difference is it's the Georgia game. You miss a kick, you can kind of like wrap your head around it. Like it played out the way it played out. But then you look at a game like Oklahoma. I was there. I'm kind of left scratching my head a little bit. You're like, how that one is the one where I'm like, okay, or the wheels kind of falling off a little bit here. We don't look as crisp. We don't look as clean. Like it was just came across as sloppy to me.
But so again, and I get it. It's a 60-minute game. It's a 60-minute game. But if we can point to the right foot of Max Gilbert, I can point to David Sanders missing an assignment. that led to a fumble, scoop, score, and that's the difference in the ball game. So as ugly as it was, that's why it is a 60-minute game, and people like to blame Max Gilbert. We blame Max Gilbert. If somebody else makes another play at different points in the game, it's a different outcome there.
I'm just saying that it's close, right? Like it's within your grasp of things going one way or the other. Like to your point, then you look at Vandy, I'm left scratching my head. Then I look at Illinois and I'm left scratching my head a little bit because it's like those are the games where I'm like this is not the way it should have played out. I think in the way, because the way I just laid it out was in order, and that's why people have such a sour taste in their mouth, because it seems like usually as the season goes on you should get stronger and get more of a fine-tuned machine, and it seems like it was getting more and more off the rails as it went.
But everything was off the table. Everything was off the table, right? Why did Vandy happen? 3 losses before that. Why did Illinois happen?
That's not a good enough excuse.
Well, I'm just saying that's what happened. Go ahead.
I agree.
But name a game last year where we lost, where if the defense stands up and does their job, we wouldn't have won. I mean, look at the game.
Georgia at the end, Bama,
Georgia
Oklahoma.
at the end. Georgia at the end. What was it? Fourth and a million yards?
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's the only game on the schedule that I can't make an excuse for.
Even the Alabama game. I mean, there were multiple drives of 85 yards plus. After we scored, the offense came back in the Oklahoma game and at least started swinging. I mean, other than the Illinois game, which I think you can throw out because that's just the nature of bowl games and how they are now, I think you could make the argument that the defense never stood up at any point last season and, quite frankly, just did their damn job. And I get that there were injuries, and that's where I don't like excuses because, I get that Ricky Gibson was out, and I get that we had all these, mashups gone, but there was no point where the defense, quote unquote, grabbed their sack and manned up. You know what I mean? There was just no point where that happened.
Other than maybe the first half of the Oklahoma game, because it seemed like the defense kind of kept giving the offense opportunities, and we just did nothing with it. And then once the offense starts clicking in the second half, then the defense kind of lays down. So I can't tell you why necessarily, but it kind of played out that way because I'm like, we're in this thing. I actually felt like we're going to win this thing the entire first half. It's just eventually the offense is going to have to click, and it just didn't.
And you saw with the offense, like early in the season, we had that you heard it from Hubs, you heard it from everyone, like, hey, Joey doesn't really panic, man. Like when these things happen, he's like, hey, we're just going to go out there and we're just going to keep swinging and we're just going to keep swinging. And that's fine. A hitter can go out there and just keep swinging. A shooter can go out there and just keep shooting. But if you're just giving up slam dunks and wide open 3-pointers on the other side, or if your pitcher's just throwing up meatballs and they're dinging them out of the park every time, sooner or later as a hitter, you're going to go, well, it doesn't really matter what I do, right? It doesn't really matter. And it seemed like this team ran out of gas in two retrospects to me. At one, they just sent like no matter what, the defense wasn't going to be there. Number two, I thought they were poorly conditioned, and it showed throughout the year.
So what do we do in the offseason, Coach?
I mean, you can't argue.
We address both of those things.
Right, and it gives you some hope, right? Like I said, the only thing that gives you that pause is, and it's been long talked about, right, is Noel's system and the time it takes. And hopefully we've done enough to mitigate that time and we can get through it. We're about to find out.
Are y'all okay? Are y'all? I feel like we needed therapy. I thought we were going to have a quick 10-minute intro on expectations, and I think all four of us have been going through therapy laying on the couch together. Go ahead, Scoop. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like you're talking about, games we lost that we should have won. That Arkansas game at home was kind of dicey. That game against Mississippi State on the road, kind of dicey. We pulled those off. But just going back to the point of just talking about it being a 6-6 season, or it could have been an 11-1 season, things that didn't go your way. I think, having more discipline, taking things more serious, if we're going to be more seriously conditioned, taking our body serious, we're going to see that under Owings. And then talking about, the transition under Jim Knowles, we're not asking them to be significantly, top, 5, top 10 defense. Last year, Penn State fans were unhappy, and that team was top 25 defensively in the nation, under Jim year one of Knowles. So I think, you just asked for little things. You're trying to speed up the process, bringing those guys in. We're going to talk about those, I'm sure, in the position battles. But we're not asking those guys to go out there and be a top 10 defense, number 1 defense nationally like it was at Ohio State. If they can be a little bit better, and we talk about fixing the things that, you know, Coach and Fowl didn't like on defense, I think that can help a young quarterback, whether it's going to be GMAC or Faison Brandon, where this offense can be successful and this team can compete and be in the hunt for the playoffs.
Let's change gears here. Let me hit this super chat real quick from John Mills for 2. Says, Fowl always looks so scary. Love you, buddy. Fowl, what are you, 6'7"? 6'7"?
Yeah, what, 6'7", 270 now, I think.
6'7", 270
There you
is
go.
the rumor. And they say the Scoops is 5'4". So I don't know what the heck is going on around here. Hey, do us a favor. We had around 140, 150 people in here watching. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, smash it. Quick, free, easy helps the channel. We would appreciate it. Also, you can go grab some Talkin VAWLS merchandise. You can go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. We got logo merch, clean merch, TN theme merchandise, whatever you want. Nike, golf polos, pullovers, hoodies, rivalry shirts, parody shirts. We got coffee mugs, whatever you want. Even that nice clean camo shirt that I still don't own, but Fowl, you're repping it. You're repping it looking, maybe it makes you look scary. I don't know. Bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. Grab yourself some merchandise. If we get enough new members in here, we'll give away something for free like we do every live stream. So if you're not a member, hit that join button down below. We would appreciate it. We need your support this time of year. But let's change gears here. Let's talk a little bit about this 2026 football team. Spring camp kicks off tomorrow. Let's just freaking open this thing up. Coach, you can go first. You can take, it just leaves you the table is wide open for whatever you want to say here. Just, man, a guy, 2 guys, whatever, however you want to do it, man. Who are you fired up for this spring, man? Who's just got you licking your chops? It can be a position group. I don't care, man. Just make it your own.
Yeah, I started to say it the other day. It's no big secret here. We all know where Coach Jay's going. It's the linebackers, man. It's that simple. I think you're going to see Amari Campbell in the mic. I think you're going to see Arian in the Will. And I think you're going to see a healthy dose of Spillman and Perlotti as well. Spelling them, I think they're going to be able to stay healthy, which is going to keep them not only active in space, but active against the passing game, active in the blitz game. I think it's going to be really, really fun. And I think the key to this whole thing in the linebacker position is the health of Arian Carter. I think we've all seen he's just a different player when he's healthy. I mean, big secret, right? You're going up against SEC offensive guards and SEC offensive tackles and having to defeat those blocks in space. I can assure you, for those of you who have never played the linebacker, running full speed into a man 6'7", 330 pounds, and defeating that block with technique is not an easy thing to do, let alone when you're injured. So that's going to be key for me. I'm really, really excited about what that position can do. And I think I could go on about the defense, and maybe we'll swing round back to them. But I do want to bring up one other player that I think could be special this year, and that is David Hobbs. And I'm aware of how he looked last year, but I just don't think he ever got a fair shake of it last year. I think he was that quintessential player who was just hurt the whole offseason. He got hurt in spring. He lost all of his conditioning. It was a lower body injury, and you could just see it on the field. He was sucking gas. I've gone back and watched the back half of last season a couple times now, and you could visibly see him hurting and sucking gas. And I think he's a special, big, fast player who can
still made an impact even in that.
Even then, he still made an impact, and I think he can be really, really special for this team. And even though I'd like to get into some other groups on defense, I think I'll leave some meat on the bone for you guys.
I'm excited about the defensive tackles. I wish I just go back to Rodney Garner last year in fall camp when he said, what did he say, that he had 5 guys that he was confident in and wish he had 6. And then of those 5 he was confident in, Hobbs got hurt and Robinson got hurt. So that 5 went to 3 real quick. I am a little bit worried about depth, but adding Gilliam from Penn State. And then, of course, Coach, you mentioned David Hobbs. I'm excited to see
I think Gillian and Hobbs are going to be your starters.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to have Ethan Utley and Nate Robinson maybe coming off the bench for
and Campbell. I'm excited about Ethan Utley and Isaiah Campbell. at that position. I think they're going to take big jumps. Who you watching, Scoops? What group, what position, what player?
I mean, if I had to pick a player right now, one I've been eyeing is probably TJ Metcalf. Just that addition at safety, that was huge. You add him and Tevin, that just the DB room in general. You lost Ramon McCoy, you lost Ricky Gibson in the portal, Colton Hood going to the draft, and you add Kalen Lee. You have Ty Redmond. You have late pickup in the Miami guy, Jadis Richard, who's going to probably play a factor here. Just seeing that overall depth and getting that a position group you didn't really feel good about. You retained Idris Farouk as well in that room when there was thoughts about him transferring. So I'm just really excited the 180 that position group's going to take, especially with Anthony Poindexter being their coach and having that leadership. But overall, not even just a position group, but I'm interested to see the physicality. One thing we heard about last year, there wasn't a lot of hitting. There wasn't a lot of missed tackles that we were really upset about during the season. That's probably because you're not having a lot of contact in practice and having in live plays. So I think we've known that under Knowles, that system, they like to hit, they like to get physical, they like to play the line and get make play in space and be able to make plays on defense. So I'm interested to see how the physicality leads up and how much of a change that makes on defense if we can be more successful in wrapping up.
All these things we're bringing up is why I'm so excited about this defense. I know people are going to gloss over it and they say, well, if we just get marginally better, if we just get a little better, all this stuff, I think we're going to be a lot better. Now, how quickly they pick up these things and how quickly everything falls into place, that has a lot to do with it, obviously. But we start listing off some of these names and guys that they've mentioned already. I have on my list right here. I'm really excited about Metcalf, like Scoop said, but a guy that I really want to watch play, one of the first guys we got, the guy I wanted right out the gate that a lot of people were excited about and then kind of forgot about is Quay Moss. I think Quay Moss is explosive. I think he's physical. And from a fan's perspective, he's just fun to watch, man. Like, that's a guy who's always going to be around the ball. That's a guy who's going to make a big explosive play for you when you need it. So I can go down the list. I won't, because I'm going to let Boogie pick out his guy first, and then we can swing back to this defense if he wants to, or he's got the whole offense to talk about if he wants to.
I think it's hilarious because I'm with you guys on the defense. Like, I had the two big ones that I'm excited to see how much of a jump they take from year one to year two is Utley and Campbell at defensive tackle. But then also Marion Dye. I thought Dye, like, he walked on campus as a true freshman and looked like an SEC lineman. How much bigger, faster, and stronger is he under Owings? I think he's a dude that could take a huge step. So, I'll just take those three: Utley, Campbell, and Dye. So just me fired up.
Just to toss out two dudes that I think, and it's from the same position group, so that's interesting, but two dudes on the offense that I'm super excited to see. One who's been here a minute, and I think he's going to take the next step. The other one who's young and is about to explode on the scene, I think, is Ethan Davis and Deshaun Brame. Like, I think that tight end room could really make it's not just going to be part of the offense. I think they could be a priority in the offense. You look at, I can't verify this stat, but I think Ethan Davis is like a 96% catch rate or something like that, 92%, something crazy like that. And you talk about young quarterbacks coming in who can be a best friend real quick in the pass game is a good tight end, a reliable tight end. And you even talk about Brame can be in the slot sometimes. So that's two guys on offense I really want to see how they're used, how they're utilized. And I think Ethan Davis is going to be a premier guy this year.
All we heard about Ethan Davis out of high school was how athletic he was and how well he could catch the football. Right. And we kept waiting.
He had a little injury last year, kind of knocked him out for a little bit.
And kudos to him for sticking it out, man. That's a dude that is every off-season cycle, they went and got somebody in the portal over him. And that dude could have bounced at any time, and he stuck it out, and he stayed with Tennessee. And I think we saw late in the year, like when he was getting more run, he really showed you his capabilities. I think he's going to be a huge weapon. Do you worry about depth at tight end? Because I know you mentioned Brame and Ethan Davis, but with Jack Van Dorselaer transferring, is it Cole Harrison? What's Cole Harrison? Yep. Sophomore going into a sophomore? Do you worry about him being the third string tight end? I do worry about depth there.
A little bit. I do think you also just get a little bit of a steady hand in the kid from, was it South Alabama?
Trent Thomas.
Yeah, that's what I look up right now.
You do kind of have a steady hand there, someone that could come in
Also, a big physical kid, big target.
Yeah, big physical kid. I think you're going to see him a lot when they want to run and they want to make sure that quarterback's protected as well. Doesn't mean, as Val mentioned, that you can't, still stick Ethan Davis or Brame out in the slot or something like that. Do we have any word on how it's going to settle as far as the wide receiver pecking order? So, like, and what I mean is Keys going to be sitting in that true slot position, or they want Keys behind Rad Jackson in that Z position and Mike in the X?
I think Keys is an outside guy, right? Aren't they?
I thought he was going to be at that Z behind Rad. Is what
that's where I would see him. And you got another guy they're talking about that we talked about more last season. That I don't know if it was injuries or just didn't fall into the playing time. But Travis Smith is kind of rumored to be one of the most improved players from last year to now. So you start talking about for that wide receiver 3. I'm putting it down as Rad Jackson right now. I think that's a pretty easy pick to just say based on playing time and performance last year. But Travis Smith and Tristan Keys both, I think, are going to be in that rotation.
Do you think we see more of a rotation, Scoops? Because I don't know how. Again, Braylon, Mike, and Rad Jackson, I think, are going to be the 3 starters. But how do you keep Tristan Keys off the field? How do you keep Travis Smith off the field? Tyreek King is a guy I think that could play as a true freshman.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to keep the number one wide receiver, coming in as a true freshman off the field. But I think that Rad's done enough to earn it. But you even saw late in the season, Joakim Dodson getting some play there in the Music City Bowl, a guy that came along there late, had that huge play in the bowl game. They went and got a guy from the FCS level, and Ian Duarte, who I think if you look at the film, if he's able to, just get adjusted, he might have a role maybe, in late game or crunch time situations also at that slot. But I think with Braylon being all SEC coming back, you kind of feel good about him being in that slot position, Mike on the outside, Raw out there, maybe Tristan Keys gets to, go out there and compete. But a position that a lot of people were talking about, didn't have enough depth or was an exclamation point where it was a red flag for them. And now you're talking about how can we get these guys on the field? That's always going to be a really good sign. Even then, like I was going to say with Fowl talking about, guys that had experience and new guys coming up with the tight end room. You look at that running back room, you have Deshaun Bishop, all SEC running back coming back, but then you're super high on Dwanye Morris with, Peyton Lewis leaving. You got Javen Gordon from Tulane, who was a huge shining star at Tulane for a team that was a playoff
Justin
team.
Baker.
Yeah, Justin Baker, who's also had some time in the system. So there's a lot of things to be excited about on offense when it's also like, the big looming thing is the quarterback. But there's, the battles that we're going to have and the stories we're going to hear for the next week or two are going to be interesting for guys that can make that leap in spring ball and then also add on top of it when you get into fall camp.
Let me catch up with the chat real quick. Bert Smith dropped a $10 super chat. Nothing to say, just a tip in the tip jar. Said he's been busy and glad to see the boys back together. Shout out, Bert. I appreciate you, man. Waniac is here, and then he wasn't. He dropped a $5 super chat. Says busy but Dorfy, and we'll have to rewatch GBO. Shout out. Look at Wayne, man, dropping in to drop a Dorfy and then leaving knowing he's going to have to watch the replay. Shout out to Wayne. Appreciate you, brother. John Mills for 2 says defense steps up this year. Flat bill, thumbs down. Coach. Coach. Do you want me to put on a flat bill real quick just so we can really stir up a hornet's nest?
We're going to have to monetize it, maybe. Coach Jay will bend his hat for. No,
that's the goal. I put a goal of 10 Orange Boys, and we got 1. If we get 9 more Orange Boys, will you bend the bill on that hat right now, live on air?
On this one. Can I bend like an old Nico?
Oh, that's even worse.
I'm just kidding.
Bert Smith gifted a Talkin VAWLS membership. Shout out, Bert. We appreciate you. Hey, if you don't have a Power T beside your name, fix it and hit that join button. It is only $1 a month. Talking about position battles. The obvious one, Ori Williams. What do you think, Fowl? Coach kind of got into it more on the film breakdown of Ori Williams. Were you surprised about I was honestly surprised. I thought Ori Williams was replacing Bennett Warren. That's what I thought. I thought he was going to be the swing guy. He's coming here to compete. And a lot of people are saying he has a legit shot to lock down that right tackle position. What do I know? I'm a dude that sits behind a microphone. I'm not an X's and O's guy. I thought this offensive line would have been better with Jesse Perry at right tackle. But the offensive line, they like Jesse Perry on the inside. Do you think Ori Williams starts at right tackle?
You're asking me in March, but if you want me to lock it in right now, I think Ori Williams is starting right tackle. And the reason I say that because in my notes, it's a scattered mess. But I like Jesse Perry at right tackle. I thought he played really well. I was excited about that. Before all this portal stuff, I would have said there's your right tackle. But the more I looked at it, and you kind of piece all the, it's almost like we're going in on NCAA, and you're putting in your highest rated guys at every spot, and you can kind of mix and match a little bit. I think your best combination is Ori Williams at right tackle and Jesse Perry at that right guard. I just like from left to right, like say David Sanders at left tackle, Wendell at left guard, Sam at center, Jesse Perry at right guard, and Ori Williams at right tackle. I think that gives you your best starting five. Now, which one is better at right tackle? I mean, we can kind of negotiate, but if your best combination is Jesse at right guard and Ori at right tackle, why would you go away from that? So,
yeah, I don't think it's
today,
about
I think Ori Williams your right tackle.
I don't think it's who's better at right tackle. I think it's who's better at
That's
guard.
where I'm at.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
I think Ori Williams at right tackle is better than Sham Umarov at left guard. I think
that's where I'm at. Now, that's no shot at Sham. I think he's going to get a lot of rotation. He was a starter, like 9 games or more?
Most of the year.
So, but I think those are that. I think that's your starting five. But then you can start talking about like, is it Haslam that came in? That's going to be a rotational piece. I think that's a guy who's going to give you some quality snaps there. And that's not a shot. I'm just trying to think of like what is your starting. Anybody who's not that starting five, you have to say is rotational, right? And then you even got, I know we probably won't see him, but I'm excited. Gabriel Ascenda. Like, I mean, it's going to be hard to keep somebody like that with that kind of talent and size off the field. And Kamari Blair can also spare you at some of those spots as a young freshman. So everything I'm hearing here is all of a sudden we got not just depth, but some quality depth, and all these guys can give you some good snaps. But to answer your question, I think Ori Williams is right tackle.
I remember when Ori Williams committed to Tennessee, and he was talking about how the staff told him that they thought that he could come in and compete for that starting right tackle job, even though he was experienced at left tackle, but they knew that that was going to David Sanders. And that was a big reason why Lance Hurd went into the portal and went to Kentucky, that he wasn't going to be at the left tackle position. So you have that guy that has that experience at tackle that can come in and compete for the right tackle job. But then I think Fowl hit the nail on the head. You brought in a guy, Donovan Haslam, who has tremendous experience at the Power 5 level at West Virginia and all his time there. And just having that experience where, and you're coming in as a guy with, a lot of D1 experience coming in and compete for that job. I think it's going to give the staff a lot of options, because you're going to be able to have, see what you have at guard, whether it's going to be able to have Haslam as that backup for Perry, or do you put Perry at the right tackle job and have Ori Williams in that Bennett Warren role, just because you needed to go out there and get depth anyway. So if you had to go and tell a guy what he wanted to hear to get him in the boat, maybe you see these guys compete and you can make a decision there. But it's hard not to look at a guy like Sham Umarov, who has that experience, that, kind of has worked his way around, and just seeing how they, even they see Sam Pendleton, just because he wasn't all sunshine and rainbows there. Do they give, Nick Moore a little bit of, slack at the center position in spring ball, just to see if they can, be flexible with Sam and clean things up. So I think it's a good problem to have, just talking about how he did with the running backs and the wide receivers, like to have those bodies in the room now, where you had to go and get those guys in the boat, especially when you missed on a few guys at first. But now you have those guys with true experience. Just all around. I mean, that's a veteran group that you kind of felt iffy about when, guys started hitting the portal, but now looking at it, you have a lot of guys that have played a lot of snaps.
Yeah, it's a good balance of young talent, like, Fowl mentioned Gabriel Ascenda, Kamari Blair, another freshman with talent, and then experience. Donovan Haslam, experience. Sham Umarov, if Fowl's right, 9 games. He played a lot of football for Tennessee last year. Anthony Agamora is a guy that can start to contribute. Just good depth on the offensive line. Coach, anything you want to tie a big fat bow on the offensive line with?
I think you nailed it. I just think the depth is as good as it's really been, right? Since we've had Heupel, in my opinion, as you mentioned, Sham, Donovan Haslam, Nick Moore, even Gabriel Ascenda. I think all those guys can contribute. As well as the kid from Baltimore. What was it? Kamari Blair. Yeah, he was a kid I got to see up close here in California, and we all know that school he comes from plays nothing but the best year in and year out. And I don't think he gave up a sack his junior or senior year playing against the best kids in the country. And I mentioned it during the Ori Williams film too. He didn't give up a sack in something like 150 snaps, and you start pairing that up with Wendell Moe and people like that, you start to feel really good about protecting a young quarterback in this system. So I'm bullish on this offensive line for sure.
Let me catch back up with the chat. Tyler Harrison's in the house, drops a $5 super chat, says, sorry I'm late, playing WWE 2K26, but I'm watching and playing now, LOL. GBO, shout out Tyler. Chase Tidwell's here, been a member for 41 months. What is that, 3.5 years? Shout out Chase, appreciate you, brother. Says, what's up, y'all? Ben Gaylor for 22 months. Appreciate you, Ben, for the support. Marcus is here. Says, flight is delayed, might as well watch live. GBO, shout out Marcus, appreciate the super
scaring
chat.
Me, Marcus. I'm flying tonight. And you're scaring me.
I'm flying
worried.
Tonight, man.
I'm going to Chicago at 12:25 a.m. I know you can't see it, but
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I know, right?
The question is, are you taking your PS5 with you? What am I going to do on Tuesday night without you?
I was going to take my gun with me. It was more the plan to get to Chicago.
That took an interesting turn. That went a different direction. That's not what I was expecting.
Coach
no, I will not be taking my PS5, unfortunately.
I guess Scoops works overtime. Have you ever noticed, like, used to, Coach came on Tuesday nights and he would play his game and it's like, all right, later, boogie, bye, and left. And then it's just me on my lonesome. Scoops comes rolling in at game 3 and he's just like, I'm going to play, and then I'm going to watch Coach play, and then I'm going to watch Foul play, and then I'm going to just keep hanging out. Scoops is a trooper on Tuesday night. Takes a lot of abuse. Hey, if you guys don't watch on Tuesday nights, yes, it's EA Sports College Football, but we have changed the game. The boys roll through. We all play head-to-head. It's always a good time. That'll be Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Any other position battle that I'm not aware of? I know Foul mentioned Quay Moss. I think he's the nickel. I think that is what it is. I think Kayan Lee and Ty Redmond are your corners. I think Metcalf and Dwan Lane are your safeties. Let's talk about the safeties.
I was going to say the list of safeties might be the most impressive from top. Just the options.
Do you think it's Metcalf and Lane, or do you think Farouk and Lane? I think Lane's going to be a starter because
Lane, but I think Farouk's going to get a lot of play.
You're just going to rotate two deep.
You got DJ Burks there too, and you got freshman Joel White. I don't think you're going to throw a freshman out there that quick, but that's a talented kid to keep on the bench.
That safety room was almost embarrassing last year in the complete 180 they put out there now. Where I'm really high on Farouk, and I think there's a reason why he stayed and was pursued to stay when the rumors were out there. But I also think there's a reason why they went and got Dwan Lane over King Mack in that position, why they went and prioritized him. And that was a name you heard early on that, hey, that's a guy that's going to come in and be that signal caller leader that's behind the green dot, and then Amari Campbell at linebacker. He's going to be able to lead and communicate with the safeties what the linebacker's telling him. So I think that's going to be huge in communication. I think that early head start might help him out a lot. I think Metcalf is going to be on the other side, but like Fowl mentioned, you got a guy that has experience that was really good at App State, and DJ Burks. You got Quay Moss. You have young guys coming up in that room as well. So I'm interested to see what happens. And guys that could also make a leap, like Sidney Walton and Timothy Merritt Jr. Those guys that have been the kind of sleepers on the roster. What do those guys do in spring? What kind of leaps have they made in the offseason? So,
real quick, so because I want Coach to kind of digest this a little bit and tell me what he thinks. But how much do you think we might see a rotation of TJ at nickel, and then you'll see that's when you're going to get Farouk and Lane in the backside? I think because Quay will play the majority of the snaps at nickel, but you can rotate Metcalf in there. He has played that nickel or star, however you want to say it, in this defense.
Well, not only that, I've talked about how multiple Knowles is, and I really hope we get some time to dive into his defense. I know we've talked about it, but one thing they had their eye on when they were looking at Quay too is Quay can pop out and play corner. I showed it in his film. If you go back and watch my film breakdown of his, I show him in that corner position either once or twice, but he can play that corner, which means you can really use them in different matchup scenario and different kinds of switches. And I absolutely think you will see switches like that. I think you'll see switches along the defensive line first with with people like T-Lander as well, who can, pop down to the Leo or pop down to the weak side and get really, really multiple. So yeah, I think you're going to see Knowles play with some of the cards he's been dealt here, because they certainly have the ability to get multiple, and not only in the backside but in the front seven as well at certain positions.
I mean, what's the word we used the most when these guys were coming in, when we were getting them in the portal at first? What other than maybe just physical and explosive is versatile. A lot of these guys can play multiple positions. I think they know that. Not only are you guarding yourself against an injury or something like that, but it could come down to individual matchups depending on who you're facing. Those wide receivers be more physical, be it a speed guy, whatever it may be. I think you could really maybe get some mismatches, or at least line up par for par with different teams.
But is Knowles a guy that'll move these dudes? Like, it's one thing to be versatile as a player. It's another to say, all right, I'm going to start Metcalf at safety, but then I can move him to nickel. And then, is Knowles the type of guy that'll do that?
See, depending on how the offense breaks the huddle, Boogie, you bet your butt that in installs in the pre-week that he can have certain formations that if he goes, hey, when they go empty, I want to switch to this defense and I want this and that matchups. I want TJ moving to the nickel and blitzing, or being in an ad blitz in this situation. I want to stick Quay out there as an extra cornerback or in this situation, or heck, even an extra safety in a 3-high look in a situation like that. I do think you'll see situational matchups where Coach Knowles does this. And it also gives you that option with Quay able to, play corner. If God forbid you get into an injury situation with Lee or Ty Redmond, it just gives you that many more options out there.
Because that's the complete opposite of Tim Banks. Like, right? Like, how many times with Boo Carter did we say, hey, if we're in a bind, can he play safety?
That's the problem.
Tim Banks is not going to do that.
Knowles addressed that too. He said we're gonna adapt and make changes on the drive as they happen. We're not waiting until halftime or third quarter or fourth. As things develop in game, I need to be able to make adjustments right then. That's why these guys got to know early. These are your different responsibilities. Because if I put you there, obviously, you're going to need to know what's going on, but he plans to make changes as they impact the game when they happen.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that he said also is Jim Knowles said is the confidence that he's going to instill in his players to go out there and play, and be elite in his system, that if, they go out there and fail, that he's going to take 100% of the blame because he didn't go out there and put them on the field where they are in a mindset where they can be versatile enough, where they can play at an elite level. And that comes back to him as a coach. And that's just such a fresh breath, breath of fresh air, just based off what we saw last year and having the question marks about, blaming it on injuries or not having a backup plan where now you have this depth. You can, try to instill this process fairly quickly.
That's why, man, I'm just so excited about this football program right now. And that's why I don't get the doom and gloom from some people. And I get it. You got to go out and play the games. And maybe, who knows, this season will play out, and then I will judge this season based on how it plays out. But again, when we're sitting here on air and coach is talking about, man, I just feel like the strength and conditioning was a problem and the defensive play calling was a problem. What did we address? The defensive coordinator and the strength and conditioning coach. Josh Heupel's going to score points. He scored points ever since he's been here. He has found a way to score points. And now we have an elite defensive coordinator. Again, I feel like we're beating a freaking dead horse here, but how many times have we said Jim Knowles wasn't coming here in year one for Josh Heupel? There was nobody like Jim Knowles that was going to come here and sign up for this mess. But because Josh Heupel rebuilt this thing, now Jim Knowles will come here. And maybe that's how we take the next step from going to good to elite, is going and hiring a guy like Jim Knowles. Let's talk about the one last position battle that everybody is talking about. And I will say to you guys in the chat right now, again, if you didn't watch last week's live stream, it was kind of a little teaser, kind of whet the appetite a little bit, getting you guys ready for spring. But Coach wanted to do a film breakdown live where we talked about George and we talked about Faison. We watched some college plays from George. We watched an orange and white game play from George. We watched a high school play from George, and we watched Faison senior tape. Not only is it about quarterback play, it is a freaking educational seminar on the veer and shoot. Coach Jay brought it. He gave so much information, man. what was it, 2 hours we were live? I told my wife, yeah, it'll be an hour. It's just me and Coach. It'll be an hour. And she's like, okay. 2 hours later, the show wrapped up. Go back and give it a watch. But we touched on some of this, but I'm excited to see what Scoops and Fowl think about the quarterback competition. And I'm gonna kick this off. This was Austin Price was on the Sports Animal with Josh and Swain, and he was kind of talking about it. So I'm gonna listen to his comments, because I think with AP, when he comes on, he is addressing what everybody thinks this quarterback competition is about. Let's take a listen.
A lot of people have just kind of assumed that George is going to be the guy because he was here for a year. I think that's a bad assumption to make. I think George does have a slight inside track because he does have time on task in the system, but number of reps with the first team is the same. I mean, number of reps with the second team isn't a whole lot different. It's more so just being in the system, knowing how to practice, what they like in practice, all those type things that Faison's going to have to try to figure out. Again,
experience. Are we all in agreement? Scoops, Fowl, you guys are in agreement. You give George McIntyre the leg up because of experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he talked about the second string, practice reps, but even in some crunch time, we were really frustrated when we didn't see George a lot over Jake Merklinger, but he did get some live ball action, even though maybe it wasn't against the best competition or, against an elite SEC defense, but he was out there in live ball reps playing D1 football. So he's a guy that's, had, those live reps, been able to see the offense in real time on the field. And, the biggest thing that a lot of that we talked about isn't really his ability as a playmaker, but just physically his weight going in as an athlete, being able to, stay healthy throughout a whole season and withstand the hits. So, I mean, I do give that edge to George, but also Faison, kind of missed some time last year, but he's coming off 2 back-to-back state championships in the highest division of North Carolina high school football, and a guy that was the number 1 ranked quarterback for a reason. So you have that rating. That guy, maybe he's coming to sit for 1 year, but if there's any kind of question mark in that season, he's going to want to, have a fair chance. I agree that he's going to have every chance to go out there and win it. But how ahead is George going to be? I think that's what we're going to find out in spring ball here.
Yeah, I agree. I think George obviously has a leg up. I think he's slotted in there, even though they're not going to say that. I mean, and he should be. Like, if he's not, that brings up all kinds of other questions. But how much do you guys think the season will dictate? What if we all have confidence in this offensive line, but what if it's a little shaky? What if the pass protection is a little shaky, and you start thinking about if they're close, if it's comparable, and you start thinking about Faison's improv skills, what he can do with his feet? Can he escape and make you some plays on third down, that kind of thing? I think it's George's to lose, but we've all said it, but it's Faison's physical abilities and just his pure athleticism that if it's close, if it's, I'm not so sure that he doesn't get a fair shake there, that he doesn't get an opportunity. And I think I'm going to keep saying, I think it's George's to lose, but I think the gap may be smaller, and that's not bringing George down. The more I watch, the more I listen, I think I'm pushing Faison up a little bit. I think he's closing the gap. Just on, you hear a lot of these guys talking about just in high school, he doesn't make the same mistakes twice. He learns quickly. He picks up things quickly. And if that's the case, I know we've always seen the biggest jumps for these quarterbacks in year 2, but how quickly he can pick up this system, it could be much tighter, much closer than maybe we're all giving him credit for right now.
Coach, let's talk about the experience and kind of with what Fowl's saying there. Maybe this thing's a little bit closer. Yes, George McIntyre, we all say that he's got a leg up because he's got time in the system, right? He's got experience. He's been on campus. Even though he didn't get much live action on game day, he's been in the practice room, he's been in the meeting room, been in the film room, all that type of stuff. How valuable, let's talk about a kid coming in as a true freshman versus a guy that's got experience in the system versus a true veteran that has experience. Joel Klatt was the guy I made a video on him talking about it, and he is sold. And he loves to make videos just any way he can downplay Tennessee and get that boost, the outrage, right? But he's saying that Tennessee is going to underachieve in 2026 because of inexperience at quarterbacks. And he pointed at the college football semifinals and how all 4 teams had veteran guys that they went out to the portal and got. How much is experience versus being like a Joey, right? A true veteran, game experience versus system experience versus a true freshman in Faison Brandon. Break that down in 3 categories.
You always want the greater amount of experience because it breeds calmness in the quarterback position, right? It's like, I was never in the military, but you hear people talk like the more you're out there, the more you hear bullets flying, right? The more it becomes like that's your job, right? Your training kicks in, right? You just are active in that situation. You're switched on. And I think it's really important from that standpoint to be switched on. But there are certain people that just have it in them to be calm out there on the field, right? And that's what you really need in this system. In Josh Heupel's system, you need a quarterback that can be calm and go through his pre-snap leverage checks quickly, that can be calm post-snap and conflict the defender through his reads and throw or hand off based on those reads as well in real time. And that takes a calmness, that takes the ability to read Timothy's least favorite thing, those option routes, right, in real time, and being able to, just deal with all the different things you deal with is a quarterback in this veer and shoot system. So yeah, I think it gives really any quarterback in any system an advantage. But I think just saying, hey, no matter what, you've got a freshman playing or a quarterback without experience playing, they're going to take a step back is a bridge too far. I think we've just seen too many situations out there. Recently, a redshirt freshman in Sam Levitt, who took a Arizona State team to the playoffs, even going back to Bryce at Alabama, being a young kid and taking them to a spot. And yes, even the dreaded name around Tennessee as well. Sure, was it built on the backs of, the running game and the defensive primarily? Yes, but when throws needed to be there, he was able to make enough and miss not enough to be able to put us in a position to win as well. And being able to affect the game with your legs, as Fal was mentioning as well, should be an interesting thing, right? Because there were moments and at times under those younger guys too, where those legs were able to, get you out of trouble. I can think of numerous times as well. So,
and how much that opened it up.
How much it opened everything up,
And if we did it in 2024 with Nico, and every time I've said that,
there's no reason we can't do it.
That a redshirt freshman in Nico led this team to the college football playoff, and everybody wants to bring up defense and running. Well, guess what, man? We got one of the best defensive coordinators in the country coaching this defense this year. You got a veteran bunch on the offensive line. You got playmakers at wide receiver. We're talking about the playmakers at tight end. You got a 1,000-yard rusher in Deshaun Bishop coming back. What? Name a better setup for a freshman to walk into than what Tennessee's got on offense.
You still got to go out there and be good enough not to screw up, though. I can think of multiple years. I can think of multiple years where Tennessee had damn good defenses with Eric Berry and everyone out and their brother out there, and we were ranked, I think, 4th or 5th nationally on defense a couple of years there. And our offense and our quarterbacks were so pitiful under Sims or whoever was there that we couldn't even do anything at all, period. So was it not optimal? Did we miss big shots? And could we have had better leadership from a redshirt freshman? Sure. Give me all those things. But it was also good enough to get us there, good enough to beat a primed Ohio State team? No, but, that's the name of the game. I think we'd all accept making the playoffs and being in the hunt this year under a young quarterback and a defense that's growing. Go ahead, Scoops. Sorry.
I think this comes back to like we talk about trusting Josh Heupel as a quarterback evaluator, and we know that people have questioned like the whole Joe and Hendon thing, and he didn't really have much time with that evaluation, so I give him a pass there. But I think that Josh Heupel is going to go out there and play the best quarterback, no matter if it is a true freshman in Faison or a George McIntyre that's had that experience. But one thing that's, kind of stuck out to me is like on Thursday, I was walking out of Bridgestone Arena after the Tennessee and Auburn game. And funny enough, I ran into JD Piquel and I was telling Boogie about this, just randomly, talking some questions. And he asked me, George McIntyre or a Faison Brandon and why. And obviously talking about the same things, just the experience of George and having the time in the system, getting his body right nutritionally wise. But he's going to go out there and play the best quarterback Josh Heupel is, but how cool would it be? Like a lot of us remember George McIntyre's commitment video to Tennessee. It's not a decision, it's a calling, a guy that's been from Tennessee, the lineage in Tennessee, playing in Brentwood. How cool would it be to have a guy that actually, his whole life has been around the power T, representing the power T, and being able to have the chance to go out on the field and show how much it really does mean to him. So I know that Josh Heupel is going to put out the best quarterback based off his ability, but how cool would it be to have a guy that's talked about wanting to be here, go out there and be successful?
Yeah, I think there was an epic broadcast voice in that video that said something about him being a hometown hero. Sounded great, sounded magic, sounded cinematic. I don't know who they got to do that, but it sounded great. Coach. Must have been. Fantastic, though. I love that. Like, how many times have we seen these kids? Oh, I grew up a Tennessee fan, and then they go elsewhere. Look at Ty Simpson, freaking Alabama, man. And it's like we look, I pull for whoever the quarterback is, right? I don't care if it's Staub. If it's Staub, then let's go freaking play football with Staub. But man, if it is George, it seems like it means a little bit more. Let me hit this super chat real quick. Where did it go? Jamie Roberts is in the house. Shout out Jamie, drops the orange boy. He says QB1 has entered the chat. Sorry, been gone too long. You better be back here on Tuesday, man. We're trying to get you geared up and ready to win a Heisman Trophy, but that's Orange Boy. We'll play the clip. Rocky Top! Shout out, Jamie. We appreciate the super chat, my man. So we talked about experience. Let's talk about the other determining factor that everybody is talking about, and that is weight.
And George is about 200. Faison's 215. Faison physically is bigger. He's 6'4", 215, whereas George is 6'6", 200. So, this is a time where George has to continue to get bigger. He needs to be 210, sometime by May. In the perfect world, he just got to keep on the weight as best he can. I think because of his dietary restrictions, due to allergies and such, like they finally got that honed in. And so like every time he weighs, Josh, it's a personal record for him on weight, right? And I think for him, it's just about getting bigger to be able to withstand the punishment. But I think right now he does have a slight leg up just because of time on task in the system. But that does not mean he is a locked-in going to be Tennessee starter. This is a total open competition, and he's going to have to go out and earn it and win it.
Total open competition. Go ahead, Scoops.
How frustrating does that make y'all where AP is talking about that George is finally getting it honed in when it comes to his food allergies and the things that affect him negatively after he had a full year last year? Like, does that not just make you shake your head at the nutrition, at the things that were going on wrong? Hearing about how, Owens is, no more Gatorade, only Gatorade, zero sugar, making like simple things like that. It makes you shake your head about what was going on last year to where this wasn't a thing year one where they had a plan in place for him to be successful when it was his time to compete for a starting job. And now you're talking about him weighing less and not being physically as built as a true freshman incoming. That part makes me really upset, but also hearing about the grind that he's going to have and what his goal is by May when you have spring ball as well, and you're going to be losing weight, being as physical as you are in practice and the weight room.
Yeah, I think so many people didn't understand what was going on with George. They just like to throw shade and make comments about him not being able to gain weight and all that type of stuff. You're talking about the University of Tennessee. You should have somebody on your staff that can make those decisions. But it goes back to the hire that Owings made, right? I mean, George has talked about it, that he almost went to LSU just because of the nutritionist they have on staff, and that's who Owings brought in. But we're talking about experience. Go ahead, Coach.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, I was just going to say we're talking about experience. We're talking about weight. What else is it? What else is it that's going into this competition that you guys think it's going to be George or it's going to be Faison? What else is it? Is it just simple command of the offense, being able to make the right decisions, not putting the ball in harm's way, not turning the football over? Do you worry about George with that more than you do Faison? Faison's touchdown to interception ratio is extremely good. George's not so much. Is that blown out of proportion because he didn't have as much talent around him at Brentwood Academy?
I truly believe that the quarterback that will win this competition is the quarterback that can process at the more elite level information, as I was just mentioning, and the quarterback that can distribute the ball the best and most evenly throughout the veer. I think that's going to be your quarterback. I think we've seen quarterbacks like that, as I mentioned, Bryce, so on and so forth. You know what the lightest quarterback to ever win a national championship was, guys? Old Harry Stuhldiler for Notre Dame in 1924, 5'7", 151 pounds.
Did you just Google that just now?
I had to know. We got to learn about the beautiful game.
I mean, that's why you got that shirt on.
I am a
ball
certified ball knowing realist. So I'll win the argument. It's that simple. Sorry, guys.
I think the determining factor is what Coach hit on earlier, and unfortunately, we're not going to know that now. But it's what you can do when the bullets are flying. Who stays calm? Who stays mistake-free under pressure? And the closest we're going to get to that is going against the first-team defense. But you're going to get a little bit of that. But when the lights come on, you're in Neyland, it's loud. You're on the road. What was our first big road game there? It's like, is it at Arkansas? I think, or maybe.
I mean, Georgia Tech.
Regardless. Is that neutral? Georgia
no,
Tech?
it's on the road. I wouldn't say that's a big game, but that's. I mean, it ain't.
It's not you may not get that home field advantage that we see in the SEC, but I mean that's when you're going to find out. Unfortunately, you won't know till it happens. But it's a combination of that and what Coach said is how quickly can you go through your progressions? Can you? I hope not. We're going to hear this regardless if it's true or not, but can you process the whole field? Can you take reads on both sides? But
careful, Coach,
it's all going to be because I mean, let's think about it. Like they both have arm talent. That's not an issue, right? We know that. So it's like how can you do it? Can it come down to the improvisational stuff where if you're under pressure, we've seen them both move around the pocket pretty well. Like it's just going to come down to between the ears, how calm you can be, how quick you can make your reads, and how quickly you can distribute the ball. Will you take that check down when it's sitting there instead of forcing the ball somewhere? Like, who's that guy? And we just don't know that until the snaps start happening.
And you could also make the argument that will they do what they did later in the season with Nico in half the field if they feel like they need to under this, new quarterback, right? Like, will you start rolling them out and giving them half field reads, which is a weird concept, Boogie, because it's almost like the whole field would have to be available in the veer in order to switch over to where you're only reading half the field. I know, a conundrum for the ages, I'm aware.
One thing that I think is going to play a factor that I don't think Georgia's running game is a negative for him. I think he's sneaky good on his feet, even with how big he is. But
I think one thing that in a game, pretty easily.
Yeah, for sure. But one thing that Faison was able to do was he earned that Hendon Hooker comparison when a play breaks down. One reason why Hendon was so successful is when a play break down, he was able to make a move on his feet and extend a play where it was supposed to be negative. It was supposed to be a loss of yards, and being able to have that. So I'm curious to see if they'll be able to let those guys go out there and play loose, given the depth at the position. Will they have that ability to run in practice where you can see that playmaking ability? Or is that going to be something that they don't really see? Probably not. That's what I think, that they're not going to want to risk it. But is that going to be a factor to where it might not benefit?
Maybe in a more controlled situation, just
like Val talking about earlier, Jim Knowles wanting to hit in practice. They ain't hitting quarterbacks. That's why a lot of people say that Joe beat out Hendon is because you didn't get to see what Hendon could actually do, because nobody's going to hit their quarterback like that. It's just, you're just not.
And when you're seeing Bazooka Joe go out there and launch, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. But you're not seeing that ability. So that's what I'm trying to say is if, Faison doesn't have where he can go out there and be able to use his feet in practice without that whistle being blown early in action to try to keep those guys healthy. Just maybe that experience in the system will, look better at that point.
But that's one of the craziest things. I know it's a little off, but you see in the NFL Combine where they go out and throw routes on air, and it's one receiver, one DB, and you're just making a throw. It's like you're not reading anything. You're not processing anything. Like there's thousands of quarterbacks across the country who can make the throw. It's just who can make it when they actually have to make reads, and then who can make it when they're under pressure, right? So that's the stuff we're just not going to know yet.
Do you think too, like when we start, the reason I'm bringing up option routes is because Timothy for 5 said process the whole field. Yeah, Heupel isn't Cutcliffe and teach them to read the full field, just half the field. Joking. Timothy was here for the lectures last week. But like option routes, right? Your rapport with your wide receivers is important. And I know AP in that little clip there said, that George wasn't throwing with the ones either, but George has been throwing for the ones. George has a relationship with those guys. George has a rapport with those guys. And I would think that gives him a little bit of an advantage as well.
I think those extending the invites to Miami when all the uncertainty with Joey, not just, a couple months ago, but even last week before on spring break, he's been with a lot of those guys down there in Miami. I've been seeing a lot of group photos. So still having that bonding has been super important, taking that command. I mean, even Faison's down there with him. So they're both having some kind of leadership. And that's something you really want to see from young quarterbacks as true freshmen, of guys that don't have that experience, but now they're understanding that they have to be the leaders. They have to be the QB1 and hold that weight and hold the weight of the power T. So they're definitely taking it serious.
Question, because and this could be a simple answer, but who do you think is taking QB2 reps straight out the gate in spring ball? And do you think it's straight to Faison, or you throw Staub in there at second because he's a freshman, he's new? One, that's question A. And question B, how big a difference do you think it makes for Faison to get QB2 reps all summer long or in fall versus George, who got QB3 reps?
I mean, you talking behind closed doors or the routes on there in front of the media? You can bet your sweet ass that it's going to be George McIntyre and then Staub and then Faison. Yeah. That's going to be routes on air. Video number 1. VolQuest is going to drop it. Faison Brandon routes on air. It's going to get 100,000 views. It's going to be awesome.
At QB3,
behind closed doors, Faison's going to be taking the QB2 reps.
I would say,
how big a difference do you think that makes versus like George last year taking QB3?
I don't think they're going to have a seniority thing where they go out there and they just like last year where they gave Merklinger that respect over George. I think it's point blank, in my opinion. You'll see George McIntyre getting the first reps, Faison Brandon getting the second reps. And I don't want to say that Ryan, Staub is coming here to be a clipboard holder, especially when we talk about the depth that we have right now with his experience, his coming in, and how he's going to be able to have that leadership and being a veteran guy that has experience at Colorado. I don't see him. I think he knows where he is right now on the depth and on the roster in the QB room. But I also think that he's going to be able to help those guys where things are, learning things or little things of just being clean and going through the process of practice and trying to instill what the coaching staff wants from those young guys. But I think, in my opinion, it's clear it's George is going to get the first reps. Faison might get the second, but we'll see that jump. Or to be that one clip where Faison gets the ones and George is at 2 and everyone starts freaking out saying, "Oh, Faison's won the battle." And we're just, And
then somebody's going to have to blur out Miles Kitselman on a practice video. And
we just know how big a hindrance it was to put him at QB3 and not get those reps last year. I just want them to make the same mistake twice.
Yeah. Well, it should be interesting. Don't be surprised if it routes on air, Staub looks the best.
I mean, he has a pretty long.
Don't be surprised. Hernandez kid, California 7-on-7 kid. It's what they do nonstop every day, all the time out here. Doesn't mean you're the best game guy in any way, shape, or form, or even the best pads practice guy. It just means a lot of the kids out here in this state, especially this part of the state, they just do it all day, every day, 7-on-7 league. So don't be surprised if you get a lot of buzz about Staub in routes on air and stuff like that. He's going to look good in that category. It doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form that when they get in pads and start strapping it up, you're going to get that. Let me ask you guys a quick question, just for fun, to watch how the game evolves a little. What do you think if we come out of this season, G-Mac's been the guy, and at the end of the year, he's passed for 1,141 yards, 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. What do you think about that?
What's our record?
You think that's a great season? Because it's the second best freshman quarterback performance ever at Tennessee, and it was done by Peyton Manning.
Go ahead and tell them who the first is, Coach.
It's Nico, but we don't need to get into it. I'm just saying, what kind of year do you think we have, everybody? And I realize the game's changed. The game's changed. It's just, I don't know. I'm a weirdo, so I like to think of these weird things, and sometimes I say
that sounds like a 7-win season.
When's the last freshman prior to Nico that got an opportunity to start at Tennessee?
It probably the year we had the two kids. What was it, Schaefer and
Schaefer? That's going all the way back to 2000.
Did Bray play as a freshman?
Did what? Bray?
Did Tyler Bray play as a freshman? I don't think
so.
I don't think he
did. When did Dobbs get the start?
I think he played a little as a freshman, but not like a ton as a freshman.
You said 1,100 yards, 1,100 passing yards.
Peyton Manning threw for 1,141 yards as a true freshman.
Nico in 2023.
Nico wasn't a true freshman either.
It's saying true freshman.
I think that, and also Nico played a lot more games than Peyton. I think we would be remiss if we didn't bring up there are some differences here, and I'm aware of them. Guys, this is just a thought experiment.
Yeah. If you're telling me those stats blindly, I'm not feel like comparing it to the situation now.
Right.
I'm not feeling confident with Joey going out there and throwing for over 3,000 yards, and then you're like, oh, that must mean that we went like 5-7 or 4-8. Like we're cooked, bro. Like just hang.
I think it just puts into context. There's not a whole lot of freshman quarterbacks starting at Tennessee.
Well, the headlines going into the spring would be insane because you probably just came off an average season. He's not going pro after those stats. So, I mean, then is it everybody and their brother yelling it's phase on time?
Yeah, I don't think we would make it to the end of the season. People would be calling for phase on 3 weeks in if that's what the numbers look like.
We won 1,100 yards in the first 4 games, right? I mean, especially with this beginning of this season.
Coach, why are you doing
ready
this?
For Marshall, man.
Timothy for 2 says Manning went 7-1 too. You've got him stirred up again. Timothy for 5. Wonder if Heupel will switch it off from option route to timing routes to help G-Mac get the ball off in 3 seconds.
I wouldn't be doing my job up here if I wasn't messing with it.
Hey, we're gonna tie a big fat bow on this stream Tuesday night, 6:30, EA Sports College Football. Hopefully, Scoops and Fowl will pick up the slack. Coach is gonna be out in Chicago coaching a little ball, but we're still gonna have some fun on Tuesday night. Spring camp starts tomorrow. Practice starts tomorrow, so I'll be dropping videos every day. Some recruiting. Recruiting is picking up. Tennessee has, I think, their first visit start on Tuesday. I'll be talking recruiting. We'll be doing spring practice recap videos, and then we'll do maybe just go live on Sunday nights. I don't know. I'll let you guys know when the scrimmages pick up. We may go live after the scrimmages. Just make sure you're dialed in, subscribed, make sure that bell's rung for notifications, and dial into the videos, and I'll let you guys know when we are going to go live. If you're not a member of the channel, fix it. Think about hitting the join button. We need your support. The channel does not exist without your support. We appreciate those that are members of the channel. Smash the thumbs up if you haven't yet. We got up to about 160 people watching. The thumbs up is free, and it takes you 2 seconds. We would appreciate it. You can still hit share, put it on Twitter, let people know about the live stream, and we would be grateful for that. But that is going to do it for this one. For Coach, for Fowl, for Scoops, my name is Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.